Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How long can a person lie, manipulate, and destroy the people who love them the most before it catches up to them? Because no matter how smooth they talk, no matter how good they fake the charm, no matter how many times they skip consequences with a smile, it all ends. And when it ends, for a narcissist, it don't end like they thought it would. They wanted control. They wanted praise. They wanted to be worshipped while you begged for scraps. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, is that life has a balance. God has a plan. And the same people they thought they broke forever are the ones who rise up, walk away, and leave the narcissists sitting in their own mess with nothing but regret and a ruined reputation. So stay with me, because in this message, I'm going to give you 6 real deal truths about how it all ends for the narcissist and why your healing is the beginning of their unraveling. Narcissists don't survive well on their own, not because they're lonely, but because they need something to feed off of. They live for what's called narcissistic supply, which is a fancy way of saying attention, control, admiration, fear, or even your pain. As long as they can get a reaction from you, they feel powerful. It doesn't matter if it's love, hate, anger, or desperation. Any attention is better than being ignored. So when you finally walk away, cut them off, go silent, and stay gone, that's when the walls start closing in on them, because what they depended on is no longer there. At first, they pretend like they're fine. They'll put on that fake smile, show off on social media, maybe even jump into a new relationship within days. They want to make it look like they're unbothered, like they never needed you. But deep down, they're already feeling it, that empty space where your energy used to be. It's louder than ever. They might distract themselves for a while, but eventually reality hits. Because they didn't just lose a partner, they lost a source, a constant stream of validation, attention, and emotional energy, and they can't function without that. Now here's where it gets real. Narcissists don't heal, they replace. So instead of facing their mess, they try to fill the gap with someone new, someone fresh, someone who doesn't know them yet. They'll love bomb again, do the same sweet talk, the same fake promises, the same charm. But the thing about narcissists is they don't change their behavior. They just change their audience. And sooner or later, the new person starts seeing the same red flags you saw. The cycle starts again. And every time they have to start over, it gets harder because it takes energy to keep up that mask. And deep down, even they get tired of playing the role. Meanwhile, they're still watching you, even if they've moved on, even if they pretend they don't care. They're checking your posts, asking about you through mutual friends, waiting to see if you'll come back. And when you don't, when they realize you're actually done, it creates a panic they don't know how to handle. Not because they love you, but because they can't control you anymore. And here's what really starts to break them. Nobody else gives them what you did. You were patient. You were forgiving. You gave them chance after chance. You saw the broken parts of them and still believed there was good. And even though they never admitted it, they knew what they had. They just thought they could always come back to it. So when they lose you and can't replace what you gave, that's when the panic turns into regret. Not the kind of regret that changes them, but the kind that haunts them. They might try to reach out again, just to see if the door's still cracked open. They'll say things like, "I miss you," or "No one understands me like you," or "Can we just talk?" But what they really mean is, "Can I still use you for what I need?" Because the supply is gone, and now they're starving. They don't know how to cope without being the center of someone's world. And if you stay strong, if you keep the door closed, if you stay silent, that starvation grows. And eventually, they're forced to face it. You're not coming back. And what they lost wasn't just a person. It was a lifeline. The truth is, narcissists crumble without supply, slowly, painfully, silently. You might not see it. You might not hear about it, but it happens. Their relationships fall apart. Their charm stops working. They start feeling empty, hollow, lost, because the one thing they've never learned how to do is live without someone else's energy feeding their ego. And while all that is happening, you're rising, you're healing, you're gaining clarity, peace, and strength. You're not checking for them, not waiting by the phone, not wondering what they're doing. And that right there is the ending they never expected, because they didn't think you'd survive without them. But now it's clear they're the ones who can't survive without you. That's how it ends for them, not in a dramatic explosion, but in a slow, quiet unraveling. They lose their supply. They try to replace it. They fail. And then they sit in the very emptiness they created. You moved on. They broke down. And that's the truth no mask can hide. When a narcissist first walks into your life, it's almost like they were made to fit perfectly into your world. They say all the right things, show up with charm, confidence, and that magnetic energy that draws people in. And at first, it's easy to believe the act, because that's what it is, an act, a performance. They wear a mask that looks like love, empathy, and stability. But what you don't see in the beginning is that behind that mask is a person with no real intention to care for your heart. They came not to build with you, but to feed off of you. The narcissist's entire way of surviving and manipulating is built around that mask. It allows them to fool not just their victims, but friends, family, coworkers, even strangers. Everyone sees this polished version of them. The one who's funny, sweet, confident, and generous when they want to be. People say they're such a good person because that's all they see. What they don't see is the private version, the one who stonewalls you, the one who gaslights you, the one who disappears when you need them most and shows up only when it serves them. But here's the thing about wearing a mask: you can only keep it on for so long. Over time, the cracks start to show. That charm becomes inconsistent. That sweetness becomes manipulative. That confidence turns into arrogance. And the people around them start asking questions. People begin to notice the patterns. They start to wonder why the narcissist always plays the victim, always points fingers, never seems to take responsibility for anything. Slowly but surely, the truth begins to leak out. And for the narcissist, that's a nightmare, because their power depends on the illusion. As long as people believe the mask, they can keep manipulating, keep getting sympathy, keep running their game. But when people start seeing past it, when loved ones stop believing the lies, when the story no longer adds up, that's when the mask slips and there's no putting it back on. See, a narcissist doesn't just lose control when the mask comes off. They lose access to people, to relationships, to opportunities. Because what they once used to get ahead, fake charm, false vulnerability, sweet words with no action, stops working. And they don't know how to function without it. They don't know how to operate in truth. They don't know how to be real. Because being real would mean confronting everything they've avoided their whole life, their insecurities, their guilt, their damage. And they'd rather burn bridges than face themselves. That's why the fall hits hard. Because narcissists build their lives around an image, not a purpose, not a legacy, an image. And when that image starts to crumble, the whole foundation starts shaking. You'll notice they start panicking, jumping from person to person, trying to find someone who'll believe in the mask again. They might move to a new place, find a new circle, create a new version of themselves. But no matter where they go, they carry their broken patterns with them, and eventually people catch on again. The truth always rises, maybe not right away, maybe not when you want it to, but always. And when it does, it hits the narcissist in ways they can't escape. Because they've lived so long pretending, they don't know how to deal with exposure. They don't have the emotional tools to process being seen, not for who they pretend to be, but for who they really are. And that moment when they realize people aren't falling for it anymore, that's one of the most painful endings they'll ever face. Now, don't expect them to admit it. They'll try to shift the narrative, say you were bitter, crazy, difficult. They'll try to find someone new to mirror the old lies to. But even as they talk, they know deep down the mask doesn't fit like it used to. The charm doesn't hit like it used to. And the crowd isn't clapping like it used to. That's the beginning of the end for them. Not when they lose you, but when they lose control over how others see them. Because image is everything to a narcissist. And when that image fades, they're left with nothing but themselves. And what's underneath the mask? Emptiness, confusion, loneliness. The very things they were running from by pretending to be someone they never were. So let them perform. Let them put on the act for as long as they can, because eventually life will expose the truth. And when the mask falls off for good, there's no applause, no encore, just silence and consequences. One thing you can always count on with a narcissist is this: they will ruin every real relationship they have. Not because they mean to in the beginning, but because they don't know how to sustain something real. They only know how to manipulate, take, and control. Relationships require honesty, vulnerability, empathy, and consistency. Things narcissists are not built to give. They enter relationships with charm, but they stay in them with dysfunction. And even the people who love them the most, who try the hardest, who give chance after chance, eventually get pushed away or destroyed in the process. At first, it might seem like the narcissist has deep connections. They might call certain people their soulmate, their ride or die, or claim that family is everything. But over time, you'll notice something. The longer people stay close to them, the more broken those connections become. Arguments start to replace affection. Guilt starts to replace communication. Control replaces love. The relationship begins to feel like a game of survival rather than a place of peace. And it's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, just emotional distance, cold silences, unspoken tension that never gets fixed because the narcissist refuses to take any real responsibility. In every real relationship, there will be conflict. That's normal. But with a narcissist, conflict is never resolved. It's either avoided, blamed on you, or used as a tool to manipulate your emotions. You might try to talk it out. You might try to express your needs or set boundaries. But with a narcissist, that often gets turned around on you. Suddenly, you're the one who's too sensitive, always starting drama, or never satisfied. They refuse to see your heart because acknowledging your pain would require them to own their actions, and they don't do that. Instead, they twist reality until you doubt your own perspective. And this isn't just in romantic relationships. Narcissists burn bridges with friends, coworkers, even family. They'll ghost people who don't praise them enough. They'll compete with those who shine too brightly. They'll discard anyone who holds them accountable. Anyone who sees behind the mask becomes a threat. And once you're a threat, they either try to destroy your character or cut you off completely. What's heartbreaking is watching people who genuinely cared get drained and discarded. Some people give their all, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, trying to help the narcissist grow, trying to love them through it. But you can't love someone into being a better person if they're committed to being the same. And most narcissists are. They're committed to being right, to looking good, to maintaining control, even if it means sacrificing every real connection they've ever had. And one by one, the people who once supported them, believed in them, and gave them everything begin to fall away. Not because they stopped caring, but because they ran out of energy. They ran out of hope. They realized that no matter how much they gave, it was never going to be enough. And when a narcissist is finally left with no one who truly loves them, they start to feel the consequences. Not immediately, but over time. Because here's the truth, fake relationships don't replace real ones. Temporary praise doesn't replace long-term loyalty. New supply doesn't heal old wounds. Narcissists chase attention and validation because they lost the people who actually cared. And when they finally realize that they pushed away the ones who showed up for them, the ones who would have stood by them if only they had changed, it hits different. It hits deep. But they won't show that pain the way others do. Instead, they cover it with more lies. They pretend they don't care. They jump into new connections. They create new distractions. But at night, when it's quiet, they remember the faces, the moments, the times they were forgiven, the love they were given. And they know they ruined it, not by accident, but by choice. And that's how it ends for them, not just by losing a partner or a friend, but by losing everyone who truly knew them and still tried to love them anyway. That kind of loss doesn't scream, it haunts. It doesn't explode, it slowly eats away at them because they start to realize that they never built anything meaningful. They only destroyed it. You gave them something real. They chose to treat it like it was replaceable. And now they'll spend the rest of their days chasing empty connections, while the real ones they ruined become the greatest what if of their life. Narcissists spend so much time trying to be the smartest, most powerful person in the room that they forget something important. Eventually, you attract what you are. When they burn bridges with genuine people, people who had their back, who loved them through the lies, who gave them chance after chance, they end up pushing those people out of their lives. And once those real ones are gone, the only people left are others just like them. That's how it ends for the narcissist, surrounded not by love or loyalty, but by users, manipulators, and other people wearing the same fake mask they wore. It's not a coincidence. Narcissists are drawn to people who will either worship them or compete with them. In the beginning, they crave admiration and control. But once they run out of real, trusting relationships, once they've driven away the ones who actually cared about them, they're left with shallow bonds, transactional friendships, and empty conversations. These people don't love them. They're not there out of loyalty. They're there for what they can get, just like the narcissist once was with everyone else. And this is where the tables turn, because a narcissist knows how to manipulate, but they don't always know when they're being manipulated. They walk into relationships with other selfish, egotistical people thinking they can outplay them. But what they find is a mirror, someone who lies better, someone who cheats smoother, someone who discards them first. And the same tricks they used on others are now being used on them. That's the most painful part. They start to get treated the same way they treated others, ignored, replaced, lied to, played. And at first, they don't see it. They think they're still in control. But then the calls stop getting returned. The compliments turn into competition. The fake friends stop showing up. Why? Because narcissists don't know how to keep people around. They know how to attract attention, not how to keep connection. So now they're stuck in circles with people just like them. No trust, no honesty, no depth. They go to events, hang around crowds, take the pictures, post the fake smiles. But inside, they feel completely alone because they are. There's no one they can truly talk to. No one who really knows them. No one who would stay if the charm wore off. And they know it. That's what happens when you misuse good people. You end up surrounded by people who don't care if you fall. They won't catch you. They won't pray for you. They won't stand by you in the dark. They're only around as long as the show is going. But once the lights fade, once the performance slips, those people vanish. And the narcissist, who once thought they had power, is left sitting in the audience of their own downfall. It's justice without you having to lift a finger, because you're gone. You've moved on. You've healed. You're building something real with real people. You're surrounded by love, peace, and growth. But they're surrounded by echoes of their own behavior. Every relationship they're in feels like a game. Every conversation feels like a transaction. And every new person reminds them of what they lost. And even if they never admit it out loud, they feel it. They feel the difference between genuine love and what they have now. They remember the way you loved them, the way you stayed, the way you believed in them. And now they look around and see nothing that even comes close. That's when it hits. Not all attention is love. Not all praise is real. And not all company means connection. They spent their whole life choosing people who made them feel important over people who made them feel grounded. They wanted fans instead of partners, followers instead of friends. But in the end, all of that fades. And what's left is emptiness surrounded by people who only stay for what they can get. The narcissist becomes a victim of the very cycle they started. This is the part of their story that no one talks about. The loneliness that comes after all the games. The isolation that follows the manipulation. The pain of being around people and still feeling like nobody sees them, not the real them. Because the real ones left long ago, and the ones who stay, they only know the mask. So how does it end for a narcissist like this, surrounded but alone, followed but never known, applauded but never truly loved, and all because they traded real connection for control? Now they live in a world full of masks, just like the one they wore. There's something deeply powerful about healing in silence. When you finally walk away from a narcissist, they don't believe you're really gone. They've conditioned themselves to believe that no matter how bad they treated you, you'll always come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. That's their mindset. In their world, they are the center. You are the orbit. You're not allowed to grow beyond them. You're not allowed to move on without them. They assume they'll always have a place in your heart, even if they destroyed it. But what they don't realize is that healing changes everything, and it doesn't happen all at once. It starts slow, maybe the first night you sleep better without their name on your mind. Maybe the first day you don't cry over their silence. Maybe the first time you laugh and actually mean it. Those small moments start to grow. You begin to see things more clearly. You recognize the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way they drained your energy, and you stop blaming yourself for it. You begin to reclaim your worth, and little by little, their hold on you starts to fade. The narcissist doesn't notice at first. They think your silence is part of the game. They believe you're playing hard to get or trying to punish them for attention. But when the weeks go by and you're still quiet, no angry texts, no emotional calls, no checking their social media, that's when their mind starts racing. Did they really move on? Did I lose control? Are they seeing someone else? Suddenly, the one who always needed to be chased becomes the one wondering why no one's chasing them. What hurts them most isn't your anger, it's your peace. Because that peace means you're no longer under their control. You're not reacting, you're not triggered. You're not waiting on them to show you love or apologize or change. You're done. And to a narcissist, that's terrifying. They lose their sense of power the moment you stop needing their attention to feel whole. They might test the waters. A casual message, a memory they bring up, a fake apology wrapped in charm. But when you don't respond, or when your response is calm, unbothered, distant, they feel it. They realize that what they once controlled now stands on its own. And there's no worse punishment for a narcissist than seeing the person they thought They broke smiling without them. And it's not just that you're smiling, it's how you're glowing. Your energy is lighter, you're more focused, your boundaries are stronger, you're attracting better people, you're finding joy in things they used to make you feel guilty for. That's the true healing, and it speaks louder than any revenge ever could, because now they have to live with the reality they thought would never come your better without them. That's where their punishment begins, not in some big dramatic breakdown, but in quiet moments when they scroll through your pictures and realize they're no longer part of your world. When they see someone else loving you right, giving you the peace they never could. When they remember all the times you begged them to treat you right, and how they laughed, ignored you, or told you it was your fault. Now they're sitting with that memory, and they don't have access to you anymore. That regret becomes a prison. But here's the thing, your healing was never about them. It was about you. It was about choosing yourself after years of self-neglect. It was about finding your voice again, your light, your purpose. And while they're stuck in the past, replaying what they lost, you're already building a future they'll never be part of. You're living proof that love doesn't make you weak, and walking away doesn't make you heartless. It makes you wise. It makes you strong. That's how it ends for the narcissist. Not with you yelling, not with you proving your worth to them, but with you walking in peace. Peace they can't touch, growth they can't fake, joy they can't steal. They watched you break and thought you'd stay broken. Instead, you rebuilt, and the version of you that came out of that fire, unreachable, they lost the realest thing they ever had. And now, all they can do is watch from the outside while you shine in the freedom they thought they could keep from you. And that right there, that's the ending they never saw coming. For a narcissist, the moment everyone else walks away and they are finally alone, the silence becomes deafening. The attention is gone. The validation is gone. The audience has left the room. And what's left is the one person they've been avoiding their entire life themselves. The mask no longer matters because there's no one left to wear it for. The performance is over. And in that stillness, they are forced to face the very truth they've been running from for years, that they are not who they pretend to be. You see, narcissists build their entire world on illusion. They live through other people's emotions. They measure their worth by how much power they can hold over someone else. They surround themselves with distractions, with admirers, with temporary fixes so they never have to look inward. But no illusion lasts forever. Eventually, real life catches up. Eventually, the lies don't work. Eventually, the people who once stood by them, family, friends, partners, leave. Not out of hatred, but out of exhaustion. Because trying to love someone who refuses to change is one of the most draining things a person can do. And when that happens, the narcissist is left with a reflection they don't recognize. All their life, they blamed others. It was always someone else's fault. They were always the victim, always misunderstood, always the one who deserved better. But now, with no one left to point fingers at, they have to look in the mirror and ask the question they never wanted to answer. Is it me? That question shakes them because for the first time, they're forced to see their patterns, the relationships they destroyed, the hearts they broke, the loyalty they abused, the chances they wasted. It all starts flooding in. And because they never developed the tools to truly process guilt, shame, or regret, that realization doesn't lead to healing. It leads to collapse. They don't know how to sit in their pain and grow from it. So they either spiral into self-pity or build another illusion to distract from the wreckage. But deep down, they know they burned every bridge. They know they pushed away the one person who would have never left if they had just chosen to be better. And now they're trapped trapped with their own voice, their own thoughts, their own truth. That's the part no one sees. The mental prison narcissists live in when the game is finally over, when no one is answering their calls, when no one believes their stories, when no one is willing to give them another chance. They're used to controlling how others see them, but they never prepared for the moment when people stop looking, when the charm no longer works, when their name doesn't carry the weight it used to. That fall is brutal because it's not just a fall from someone else's grace. It's a fall from their own fantasy, and reality doesn't care about the character they played. It only reflects the truth. They remember the love they took for granted, the warnings they ignored, the forgiveness they abused, and most of all, they remember you, the one who loved them in a way no one else did. Not for what they had, not for who they pretended to be, but for who you believed they could become. And now, that love is gone, not because you stopped loving, but because you started healing. And healing meant letting go. They may try to rebuild. They may try to find someone new, put the mask back on, and start the cycle again. But something is different now. That emptiness they always carried, it feels heavier. That confidence they used to fake, it doesn't hold. Because somewhere deep inside, they know they lost something they'll never find again. Someone who truly saw them and still stayed until they didn't. And that's how it all ends. Not with a bang, not with a dramatic final scene, but with quiet, with solitude, with a mirror they can't run from, and a past they can't rewrite. They have to sit in what they created. They have to live in the consequences. And no applause, no validation, no fake praise can drown that out. They wanted control. They got isolation. They wanted admiration. They got silence. They wanted you broken. And now they're the ones who are shattered. Because in the end, the greatest punishment a narcissist can face isn't what the world does to them. It's what happens when they're finally alone with the one person they can't lie to anymore, themselves.